Might be a crappie, I don't think so. Oh, it's a crappie. Set my spot lock. It's a crappie. Pretty nice size crappie at that. Sort of bit like a bluegill. Oh my gosh, where's my crappie magic jig? Oh, it's a big crappie. Golly. Where's my jig? Oh my goodness, where's my jig? Look where that jig is. Look where that jig is, way down in his throat. I got about 8 or 10 crappie bites on that cast, and I got out in deeper water. Got out in deeper water and got that big slab. Now, we're not keeping any crappie today, but this lake we're fishing has got a lot of crappie, so we're going to concentrate on crappie a while. We may bass fish after a while, I don't know. We may just crappie fish. We're going to talk about fishing lakes that are low, because all over southern Oklahoma, we've had, this is the 3rd year of a drought, and our lakes are low. And I'm fishing a big watershed lake right now. This lake is built just for getting water out of it and irrigating, actually irrigating pecan trees. And but you know, it's a good sized body of water. It holds a lot of water, but because we haven't had much rain, they've drawn a lot of water out of here, and you drain that water out to water baby pecan trees. Now, pecan trees are taproot trees. That means that their roots go down and tap into an underwater source, so they can do really well even in dry years. But the little trees have to be watered because those roots are not grown down deep enough and not found any water. So little baby trees, and one of the things, if you plant baby trees, if you're not watering those trees 2 or 3 times a week, the crappie are way out here, way out here, way out here. I mean, I'm out here in 12 foot of water, and that's where those crappie are. They're close to the boat, and they're big ones too. It might even be a bass. I think it's just a big old crappie. No, it's a bass. Perfect. Perfect catch right there. Perfect catch. That was a bass. We're gonna catch some bass today too, I believe. But I want to talk about fishing lakes that are down low, because fishing lakes that are low are really not too aesthetic from a beauty standpoint, but from a fish catching standpoint, the fish have less water. So you got the same amount of fish with less water. There's a lot of places that you might normally fish, you can't because the water's down low. And so the fish are actually bunched up a little bit more. So I love fishing lakes that are low. I don't like lakes that are low because it creates a lot of problems in the whole area. But they irrigate out of these lakes, so when we don't get much rain, lakes that you irrigate out of, they pay a price for it. They go down low, and this lake here is pretty doggone low. There he is. That might be another bass. It's hard to tell. The bites are almost imperceptible. I thought they'd be knocking the snot out of it today. Another thing that's happening today is we got a major weather change. I'm talking about a major weather change. It's another bass. It's another bass. All right, Jimmy, we doing a bass fishing show or a crappie show? Look at you. They are just sucking it in. Look at there. The line is going right down the middle of that fish's mouth, and that bait, like that big crappie, way down in there. Way down in there. I laid my, ow, he's biting me. Quit biting me. Let me get this bait out of your mouth. I laid my needle nose. Right up there. I'm using a little lucky bug. I got a little lucky bug on here, chartreuse and white lucky bug on a crappie magic head. And I've got 20 pound braid on this spinning reel. And if you look at this, I'm tied directly. I tied directly because what I want to do when I'm fishing with my spinning reels is if I was fishing a tournament where, you know, every single bite is really, really important. If I was fishing a tournament, I'm going to put a leader on there every time, either a fluorocarbon leader or a fluorocarbon coated. When I'm fishing for fun, the first thing I'm going to do with my braided line on spinning reels is I'm just going to tie directly to the bait. You know, I mean, this is 20 pound test line. It's got 6 pound test diameter, so it's a very small line. I can tie directly to that bait, and if I catch fish on it, I don't have to add a leader, which saves me time and effort, and I've got stronger line. If I get a big old 6 or 7 pound bass on here, I can handle him on this 20 pound line, no problem at all. And but if I'm not getting many bites or they slow down, boy, they are out there. Now where those fish are is a little break. It's dropping off. It's up there shallow, it's dropping off, and they're hitting out here close to the boat. The water is breaking and getting down another bass. Woohoo! Pretty nice bass. Pretty nice bass. The other thing about low water is it has a tendency, obviously, to bunch a fish up because of the fact that there's not nearly as many locations for them to be. And we're going to talk about several things on low water. We'll spinnerbait some in low water and talk about some things there. Pretty nice bass right there. This is a way to break a good rod, Jimmy. Oh, my drag's pulling. Ah! How about that, sports fans? How about that? That's nice right there. Yes. Little crappie magic jig. There's one. Get my spot lock. I moved a little bit. That's a good fish right there. That might be a big bass. It's coming up. Acts like no, it's a giant crappie. Holy cow, look at that crappie. Now you notice where you got that crappie. You see that crappie's way down, that bait's way down his mouth. Now I could probably shake that and turn that crappie loose, but you're not gonna lose that crappie. I'll just go ahead and lift him in just like you would if he's crappie fishing. I've got 20-pound test line. A lot of y'all would have netted that crappie. Probably if I was keeping them to eat, I'd net it myself. But here's the deal when you have that barb. You see how easy that came out of that fish's mouth? And that's one of the things about it. And the little ones you're gonna turn loose, you don't tear up their mouth. The big ones like this, and that's a good pound and well over 1.5 pounds. Well over 1.5 pounds would be like 1 pound 9 ounces. Golly, it's a good fish. Wow, 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 wow. I love it. There's another one. One of the things that you notice if you look up there where I'm throwing, that's an old pipe in the water. And that's a spillway underneath there. You open up that gate down there and it lets the water out of this lake and they can drain the water when it's flooding. They're irrigating now the lake right now, but they can drain that water when it's flooding. But one of the things that you'll notice when you fish, and those fish are just gobbling it. Look at that, that bait is gone also. Every one of them way down in its throat. So it's really vital in this situation to have your barb smashed down. And I know a bunch of you are saying, I've never fished in a day in my life with barb smashed down. But if you're a crappie fisherman, a good crappie fisherman, you fish with your barbs, close as I get to a fillet right there. You fish with your barbs down a lot because you know it's just so much easier to unhook your fish. Spend less time unhooking, more time fishing. But one of the things that you will find when the water's down low is structure. Anything in the water becomes far more important to the fish because there's a lot of things that was in the water when the lake's up taller, up higher, fuller, that's gone. I mean, that structure just gone. So every little piece of structure, that bluegill's way out here. Every little piece of structure becomes way, way more important to you when the water's down low. So grass, stick-ups, you know, sometimes you can find some little brush and little stick-ups and things in the water that you didn't know was there. So the other thing, we'll talk about after a while, what you do fish when you fish lakes down low is you can learn a lake really good. So when the lake gets back up high, you know the exact places to fish. There he is. Woo! If you could have any more fun than this, I don't know what you're doing. You're probably not doing it alone if you're having more fun than this. This is, God, look at that big old crappie. God, some giants. Now I want to show you something here. I want to do something right here. And I don't think the way that one's hooked, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just going to kind of give that crappie a little bit of slack. See if he can pop that bait loose. He can't. That's with the barbless hook. Golly, that fish. Those are crappie way too big to be lifting in, actually. If you had a little 6-pound test line, you start lifting those crappie in, some of them are actually going to break your line. That's a big one. Oh my goodness. Low water. There's one. I actually haven't moved the boat. I threw all around the boat and then turned around and threw back where I'd caught 2 or 3 and caught another one. Now that crappie's big enough to eat, but he's pretty small compared to what I've been catching. That's a little rascal right there, but that's about a 10-inch crappie right there is what it is. A crappie with 10-inch minimums, that's just about what you catch. I caught that one right on that pipe right there. Getting close to that pipe, there's quite a few fish laying there. Well, I picked up that crankbait just to throw it a time or two. And in doing that, I mean, it's not even noon. This thing wasn't supposed to get here till 3 or 4 o'clock. We're probably gonna have to change the jackets. I'm gonna work back and kind of work through some of the areas real fast where I was fishing before, the wind's changed to the north. You know, I told you it was that way. That's where it's coming, right there. And the temperature has dropped significantly. I was sweating just a minute ago, and I'm probably gonna have to put on a jacket here pretty quick. And that's one of the reasons those fish are biting like they were, why they're taking that bait so deep. They're just really aggressive right before these fronts hits. Now, I don't know what might happen from here the rest of the day. One of the things we can't do, we can't keep our camera equipment out in the rain. Obviously, it doesn't bother the fish. Fish is already wet. But it bothers the fishermen. It's going to be a cold rain when it gets here too, with that wind blowing out of the north. This is not the major front. The major front's not coming in for a couple more days. But this is going to drop it down in the 50s, which is still okay for fishing. You just have to put a jacket on. And the bite's probably going to become more difficult. But there's one. Hey, it's the first bite I've got since the front hit. You see the wind is picking up pretty good. I think that might be a largemouth. If it's a crappie, it's a big old crappie. That's a largemouth, a nice largemouth. That's the first bite I've got since, and the wind's getting harder all the time. I know that, and this is a small lake. I mean, it's a pretty good sized lake, but it's not like 1,000 acres or anything. But you can see, set my spot lock, you can see that the wind has picked up a lot. And that's the first bite I've got since the wind switched to the north. And I need a jacket. My jacket's in the truck, but I was sweating. It's about 80 degrees, and now it's about 55. And we're gonna watch that rain. If it doesn't rain, we're gonna keep on fishing a while anyway. Gonna have to go back to the truck and get a jacket though. But I know when you look at water through a camera, it's like tournament fishing. It can be terrible out there, and it doesn't look all that bad when you're looking at it through a camera. But this little lake is starting to get little whitecaps on it. That's how hard the wind is blowing. We're probably looking right now at a 25-mile-an-hour north wind, and that's happened in about 15 minutes from changing, swinging around to the east and then around coming out of the northeast. So it's a very, very strong wind. I'm back over here around my crappie hole where I caught some mini crappie earlier. Got off of it. I want to go try to fish a point. Usually you can get around points on low water conditions, and they'll stack up around points too. I want to go check that out, but this front caught me before I got to a nice point. Well, I got my jacket. By golly, it's gonna feel really good too. I'm gonna try to get out of this wind the best I can. You know, one of my philosophies about wind is don't fight the wind. You let the wind be your friend, try to make it help you. It's not gonna be our friend from a bite standpoint, but if we can find fish and get on them, some of them will bite. Some of them will bite. Might have to put the bait right in their mouth, might have to make a lot of casts into one spot, but some of them will bite. So I'm gonna try to find some areas where I can get out of the wind a little bit, see what happens. As soon as I drop down in that nice bass, nice bass. As soon as I drop down in that ditch, still haven't got a crappie bite since the north wind blew, but I did a little moving around and found me a high bank that I could kind of get behind and break that wind a little bit. The wind's blowing pretty hard. This jacket sure feels good, I promise you that. Oh yeah, nice fish. Good little fish to catch on a little spinning rod. This little rod and reel I'm using, it's real pretty, you know, it's awfully pretty blue, obviously, but it's a nice fat fish. This is a Jimmy Houston Blaze Series combo. Combo means you can buy a rod and reel at the same time. Jimmy Houston Blaze Series, Life is Good Today rods, I call them. You got this in your hand, life is good today. Retails for $79. We might even have a little bit better price than that on jimmyhouston.com. I don't know, but you can buy them pretty much anywhere rod and reels are sold. And they come in a lot of different colors. This is a blue one. I like the blue. I like purple too. I like purple. Not too fond of the orange. Orange looks pretty nice now, Halloween. Look at this. We got soaked. I'm talking soaked. Not only that, now I've soaked my Ram truck. It just come a pour down rain. You know, 20, 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, it was 80 degrees. And now it's 50 degrees out there. Wind blowing like a banshee. And raining. I mean, pouring down rain. Look at it, just pouring down rain. And by the time we got back to the truck, get this. We stopped the truck 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, and got our jackets be cool. Now our jackets are soaking wet. Water running down my back and down my butt. Running all over me. It's running all over me. It's where it's running. And here we are. When it quits raining, I'm gonna go back out and dry out in that 50 degrees and catch some more fish. Promise. Okay. Now I am wet and cold. And you know what they say though about a trooper? By golly, I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing. I'm not gonna let cold and soaking wet all the way down to my underwear, if I have any underwear on. I'm not gonna let that stop me. You know what they say about fishermen, a trooper? They say they're stupid. Let's go fishing. Not only did we have a situation of the wind changing from the south to the north, the temperature dropping 20 or 25 degrees, but the clouds have gone away. Now there's still a lot of clouds around, but there's blue sky appeared right after the rain went through while we were sitting in the truck. Oh, there's a fish though. That's a largemouth. It's a bass. Pretty nice bass. We might just have to start bass fishing. The crappie fishing might be over. That's a pretty nice largemouth. How big is he anyway? He's not a giant. Boy, he's strong. Pretty nice one though. Pretty nice largemouth, by golly. Yeah, buddy. Now, when you have a situation like this, where you have these fronts come in, you probably are gonna, these little baits like I'm throwing, a little crappie magic with a lucky bug on them, little baits like that, are probably the baits to be using. That's a nice fish right there. That's a good 3 pound plus fish. Barbless hooked right in the top of the head. But that little bait like that is really a good bait to move to and go to. And I'm gonna try some deep smoothies just because the fish are at the right place to get them. But this might be the thing to throw to catch bass the rest of the day. I don't know. Yeah, buddy, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Surely, 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 I can catch another crappie. I picked that thing up and dropped it back down. A largemouth. Woohoo! What a jump! Holy moly! Did you see that fish? He jumped 3 feet out of the water. Thinks he's a tarpon or something, or setting a spot lock. I'm trying to fool around out here and find any little channels or dips or fall ledges or anything. That's what I'm doing right now. And I've kind of picked that thing up and let it fall. When I let it fall back down, he swallowed it. And I'm talking about swallowing it. Pretty nice fish. Oh, come in here, baby. Nice fish, yeah. Come here, pal. They are eating that little bait. I think I'm gonna pick a deep smoothie up. You know, I hadn't had a crappie bite since the wind changed to the north, but the bass are still biting. Now, they might not hit a crankbait. They might not, but I think I'm gonna try it. Well, I better throw back out there with this thing first, hadn't I? There's some blue sky, but the sun is behind the only little cloud. If it was 100 degrees, it'd be opposite of that, wouldn't it? There'll be clouds everywhere and one little patch of blue sky, and that blue sky would be where the sun was. It's about 9 foot deep right here. Most of the fish I was catching was crappie earlier this morning. Was about 12 foot deep. I may have to find a ditch that's got some 12-foot water in it. There's nothing wrong with catching those largemouth. I might be through catching crappie for the day. I went back when I came back out after the rain. I went back out. Is my hair getting dry? Golly, that's a bluegill. That's a bluegill, sure as the world. Feels like a bluegill. Be a bluegill. Just, it's a bass. I just wanted, it's a small bass. I just wanted to be a bluegill just so I'd be right. Just so I would be right. Boy, they're eating that little bait though, aren't they? That's a small one. That's what size you catch a lot on that little crappie magic and lucky bug. 12-inch fish. I can think of times in tournaments where I had 4 in a live well. That 12-incher right there would look pretty. Think of a Smith Lake tournament when I caught a 12-incher like that with 30 seconds left before I had to fire my Mercury up and run to the run to the weigh-in, and that 12-incher that I caught that last 30 seconds was worth $10,000. That's right. Oh, I got them in this channel now. I spot locked down. That's 3 straight casts. This is going to be another bass, another small bass. I might have found a. Well, he may not be that small. He's under the boat. Why do they go under the boat? Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Oh yeah, dang nice one in fact. That barbless hook is just so sweet to fish with. Those are really nice fish. You know the thing about it, I've got the same bait. I'm gonna turn it the opposite direction. The same bait that I've had on for all morning. I don't think I've changed baits. Usually when you got your barb smash down like that, particularly where those bluegill bite, and some of them will pull that bait off. I keep talking about that deep smoothie. I keep catching them on that Crappie Magic and Lucky Bug. That bluegill hitting that out there now. I'd had a little bitty bluegill bite a minute ago right before I caught that bass, and it felt like that. This is a little bass. It felt like it's going to be a big old giant bluegill, but it was a smallish bass. Oh, there's another one. You know what? There's a school of fish out there. I've located a school of fish. That's why you want to spot lock every time. Nice fish there too. That's why you want to spot lock every time when you catch a fish. I don't care if you're going down the bank, if you're out in the middle. If you're out in the middle like I am right here, it's really an important thing to do. But you want to spot lock. You want to spot lock. Oh God, they're just all nice, good chunks. 2.5, 3 pounds. You want to spot lock down because that spot that fish are in may not be very big. But the reason I'm saying I got a school of fish, I believe, because the first fish I caught quite a bit further out there, and the next fish I caught about the same spot, and the next fish was a little closer. And I think what's happened, the reason I think it's a school of fish, is the school is followed up closer to the boat, and that happens. We learned that down in Mexico, where you really get into a lot of big schools of fish. The school of fish, you could be catching them off out there, cast away from the boat. You catch 4 or 5 of them, you catch them right by the boat. The whole school, and what's happening is those fish are fighting, other fish are following it, and they end up getting up closer to the boat. And that might be what just happened there. What was that, about 4 or 5 in a row? Hello, sunshine. I look like one of them water turkeys out there. I better quit looking like that, somebody will shoot me. Oh, that sunshine feels good. Woo-hoo. I know why those water turkeys do that. My goodness. They make their living underwater. About anywhere that you go fishing, you're going to one day or another encounter low water. And low water, oh, there's a fish right there. Low water is just like anything else. You want to make it to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. If you have a situation where you got high water or low water or whatever kind of water. Oh, looky here, it's a big old crappie. A big old crappie. Oh, it come off. Big old crappie. There's a big old giant crappie on my crankbait. American original right there. But you want to use that low water to your advantage. How do you use that low water to your advantage? Well, one of the things you do is you're going to be able to find some isolated structure that you can see more easily because maybe it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 foot deep when the water was high. You want to be able to isolate the fish. Look for places where there's drop-offs and edges and points. And you also want to be able to go up in like the ends of creeks and stuff where it just gets down in the creek channel. You find areas where fish are in a large part of the lake and that they have to, because the water falling down, they have to move to certain areas. And so what you want to do is you want to think, okay, the water's low, how am I going to find them? One of my very favorite ways is to go into big major creeks, go all the way up to the end where it just gets down the creek channel. And you're winding back in a creek channel sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 miles. And you look up and maybe if the water was like 10 foot higher, it might go up there for hundreds of yards on both sides of you. All of those fish that are up there are now down in the creek channel. So use a low water situation like you want to do anything in fishing, is you want to try to make that your friend. Figure out, how can I make low water work for me, as opposed to saying, dang, I can't believe it's so low, I can't catch them. Make it work for you and you'll whack them.